Tread softly now on hollow ground, where whispers drift without a sound. They say the dead still count their rest, one step, two step, dare to test. The veil is thin where shadows play, and something steers to guide your way. Where shadows stir and silence speak, a tale begins, the fire seeks. The word cemetery gives many people a strange feeling. While cemeteries primarily commemorate our loved ones, friends or family members who have passed away, there is still something eerie about them, which had been home to mysterious and ghostly stories for centuries whenever they are mentioned. This is no wonder, because the very knowledge that you are walking on the remains of hundreds or thousands of people who once lived is a very creepy and quite humbling knowledge, if you ask me. Not to mention that these places remind us of our own inevitable fate, that we will all end up in a similar place until the end of time. But why is this one cemetery interesting? What sets it apart from the others? Now located between Brazil and Terre Haute, this cemetery is known to locals as the 100 Step Cemetery. This is no coincidence, as the place is famous, if not for other reason, than because of the terrifying legend that is attached to it. Indiana itself is full of haunted and creepy places where people can wander till their heart content, actually, from haunted tunnels to ghost-filled libraries, while it's almost impossible to decide which story is scarier. This cemetery definitely deserves attention. Some people know it as the 100 Step Cemetery, while others know it as Cloverland or Carpenter Cemetery. This Clarkson County burial ground attracts local history and folklore enthusiasts, ghost hunters, and YouTubers alike in different ways. The cemetery was founded around the time of the American Civil War, and it is still active, although it no longer accepts anybody's, no pun intended. It is called the 100 Step Cemetery because visitors have to climb 100 steps to reach the top of the hill. County officials built new stairs over the years, as the old one was, too old and half buried in the ground. Needless to say, the new staircase makes it much easier for visitors to navigate the hilltop. So there are two legends about this cemetery. The first is quite simple. At midnight, on a night when the moon can still be seen, the visitors must climb the stairs. As they take the steps, the number they get at the end should be 100. Then the visitors must walk back down the stairs and count the steps again. At the bottom of the hill, the visitor will get a different number. According to a legend, the difference is due to the supernatural, but in reality, it is more due to the visitor counting the already old and, sometimes overgrown steps in the dark at night. Or it is also due to an optical illusion because of the same circumstances. Now, the second legend is pretty much the same, but with a few changes. The visitor now have to choose the darkest night for the full experience. Once at the stairs, the visitor must make sure that it is exactly midnight as soon as they step on the first step. As they walk up, they must count these steps. Once at the top of the hill, a demonic-looking but harmless figure will be waiting for them. It will silently instruct the visitor to look into the darkness that covers hundreds of tombstones. Using this, it will show the visitor a vision of how the visitor will die. Immediately after, they must quickly turn around and walk down the stairs, counting the steps in between. Legend has it that if the number is the same as the number they counted upwards, the entity has shown exactly how the visitor will die. If the number is different, the entity has shown the wrong vision. Some try to cheat the system and walk back down on the grass next to the stairs. but then a phantom supposedly pushed them, and according to them, the handprint, which was read and believed to be demonic, or even directly from the devil, remained on people's backs for days afterwards. And although there are several versions of this legend, this is usually the one that appears most often. The ghost stories are just that, entertaining but very difficult to prove. It's worth noting that there are several versions of this legend alone, which actually you can find in the folklore archives at Indiana State University. But ghost stories aside, the 100 Step Cemetery was surrounded by very real horrors in 1892 in the form of grave robbers. Now, grave robbery, as illegal as it was quite common in the 19th century. So before the bodies of the deceased were donated by themselves, hopefully while they were alive, it was actually common for schools, scholars, and bored rich people to pay one of the grave robbers to rescue the bodies. Under the cover of the dark night, these men exhumed the deceased and sold the bodies to various medical schools in central Indiana, and the closest to it of which was actually Asbury College. A description of one such robbery can be found in the Indianapolis Journal, and I quote, 1892, Brazil, Indiana, 19th of November. Residents are left in a state of shock after a gruesome discovery was made in the Carpenter Cemetery, 1.5 miles from South Cloverland yesterday afternoon. About 2 years ago, George West, a wealthy farmer, buried his daughter, Miss Emma. She died of natural causes and there was no indication that her grave has been disturbed. Mr. West had recently purchased a small tract of land in the cemetery and yesterday hired help to assist him in transferring his daughter's remains to her new resting place. When they reached the casket, they were shocked to find it upside down in the grave and the body missing. End quote. Some skeptics who have visited have reported seeing nothing but darkness, and that it was a waste of time. A few ghost hunters who have documented their visits have only caught a few faint orbs on camera and nothing more. Others have reported being pushed off the hill by someone or something, but no one has been able to produce any evidence. No footage, nor the infamous mark that the entity leaves on people. Although accounts vary from visitor to visitor, no one has seen the demon at the top of the stairs. Conclusively, it is really up to everybody to decide whether they believe in this legend or not. The story certainly sounds interesting, whether if it's true or not. Whether there's a demonic figure here who shows the visitor in a vision how they will die or not, the 100 Step Cemetery continues to attract people who are driven by curiosity and want to know more about their fate or the supernatural. If you enjoyed this tale, there's more to unfold, flickering stories in the fire's warm hold. But if this is all the time you have tonight, thank you for joining, for sharing the light. I whisper my thanks as the embers burn bright and wait for you here in the soft firelight. My name is Creeps. Thank you for listening.